I love how the longer, warmer days of spring bring in more sunlight. Die Sonne bringt es an den Tag is a German saying. That always inspires me to give our home a little extra cleaning and homemaking, all in the traditional German way. One German tradition I have always kept, even after living here for so long, is opening all the windows to let in fresh, warm air and to bring freshness into our bedrooms and living rooms and dining rooms. And I also love to air out our feather beds and down beds, because this is what birds do when they preen, they shake their feathers. And this is also the time of year when I like to switch out our heavy duvets for a lighter down duvet blanket that we use for sleeping. Washing sheets also is something that brings so much freshness into the home, and especially hang drying them outside makes them smell so good. I actually also love that the hung dry laundry is a little bit stiffer and not quite as soft as if you dry it in your dryer, and I love that because it gives that extra sense of freshness and crispness, and yeah, I mean, that's just what I love about it. I actually don't enjoy making the bed and stripping the sheets and putting the sheets back on. This is one of the things that I dread the most. And I just spilled it all out here. You know, sometimes we have things that we really enjoy about homemaking, and this is one that for some reason I don't. After recording this video, I realized that the whole endeavor, just putting all the new sheets on, didn't take longer than 5 minutes. For me, it always feels so much longer in just my mind, probably because I don't enjoy it so much. We have an older mattress that's an organic mattress and is really heavy, which is why I like to prop it up on my knee, and it actually makes putting the fitted sheets on a little bit more work, but sometimes I get my husband to help me rotate the mattress. This time around, I didn't do that because we only do that maybe once a quarter, where we rotate it about 90 degrees to make sure that we're using it evenly. The easy part is putting the pillowcases on, and we have these down pillows. I have never really gotten quite used to the American way of using flat sheets and a duvet that you basically just leave as it is and only wash the flat sheet and the fitted sheet. We have a duvet and a duvet cover, and every time I actually wash the duvet cover as well. Maybe that adds to me not enjoying the task so much. I don't know, but you know, everybody has different things. For example, I absolutely love ironing. I always feel like I can instantly see the efforts of what I'm doing, and there's something about it that once I get going ironing, I really enjoy the process. Putting on sheets, not so much. Anyways, this is something that we do on a regular basis because we spend a third of our lives in bed, and I think it's really important to have fresh sheets, and it always gives me so much better quality sleep when the sheets are fresh and clean and smell like fresh spring air. We do have some extra pillows here. They're not just decorative. We love to read in bed in the evening before we go to sleep, and we like to prop our heads up so that it's actually easier to hold the book. Here's that lighter down duvet cover that I was talking about, and I'm gonna have to find the opening. Sometimes I close the buttons because I don't know about you, but when I put a bunch of things in the washer, sometimes they actually end up inside the duvet cover, and then I have to fish them out, little pillowcases or extra towels that I throw in the wash with the sheets, because I find that making the washer, maximizing the space actually helps with the efficiency of the washing. I do also like to figure out which side is the long side and the short side of our duvet. Maybe I could write it down somewhere, mark the short side or the long side, but we have a few that we rotate throughout the year depending on the seasons and the weather, so I haven't done that. I have these little clips that help the corners stay in place. I really don't like, and here I'm talking about all the things that I don't like. I really don't like when up by my head we only have duvet cover and no actual duvet and down and feathers. And that's why I like these little clips. So it keeps the duvet in place and makes sure that there's no major shifting. And then I find the second corner. I also know that there are some tricks and hacks of how to actually put on a duvet cover in a really smart way. I have watched those and I have not successfully able to implement those little hacks. If you have one that is really easy to explain, I would love for you to comment on it below and let me know what that is. Maybe that will actually improve the enjoyment of this whole process here with putting on fresh sheets. Finding the corners, I like to shake it out, and this is just the German way. What is not so German about our setup is that we have one queen size duvet cover. Many Germans actually have, and this is really interesting, they have two smaller mattresses where you actually have a bit of a gap in the middle. And there are little gap fillers that you can buy that you don't have that little gap where things can disappear. But then people also often have separate blankets. Now, if you have a hot sleeper and a cold sleeper, that makes a lot of sense. But we just absolutely love being under one blanket. And there is a German saying, unter einer Decke stecken, which means that you're basically in each other's corners or you're in cahoots with each other, I guess. And this is something that I adopt. And having lived in the US for so long, it's nice that I can adopt the US American way in some ways that I really like and get the best of both worlds and keep the German traditions that I like to import. And that is using this one big duvet for the both of us. And also it just really looks nice. I don't know if you've ever traveled to Germany and had a queen size bed or like a double bed or king size or what have you with two separate covers on them, and it kind of looks funny. Anyhow, sometimes it's just about the aesthetics. I am not really good about arranging pillows. We don't have enough of those, but that is just how we like and enjoy our bedroom to be. Shaking it out, I do like to make it pretty, and I guess maybe I'm a little bit obsessed about the little details, making sure that the duvet fills out the duvet cover entirely. Sometimes I do like to add another pair of clips to the bottom of the duvet here just to keep everything from shifting, or to the sides depending on the fabric that you use and the type of duvet that you have. I find that some shift more than others, and there's always a way to have a little hack to make it easier for you and keep everything in place. One thing I have adopted is adding a cover, like a day cover on our blankets here. And what I like about that is that we do have cats and they do like to sit in our bed, and that makes it really easy to also keep the bed clean, keep the hair out of the bed, and keep the bed clean, and also for a little added warmth sometimes, and it just makes it look a little bit crisp. This is a nice linen one that we've gotten some years ago, and it just makes everything look a little bit more pretty and a little bit more put together, if you will, and easier to decorate. So one of those traditions that is not necessarily German, but actually more American. But like I said, I am happy to have best of both worlds and adopt the ones that I really enjoy. Having a serene, clean, orderly bedroom, I think really improves the quality of our sleep and makes being in the bedroom so much more enjoyable. Next up is washing our curtains. This is something that's also a little bit more involved and something that I like to do in the spring when I'm looking at all the little spider webs I have up there and the dust. And even though we run around with dusters and vacuum and do all these things, there's some things that just don't really get done, and where dust is collecting and spiders. And for some reason, I feel like, especially maybe because we have an older home, it's a 1910 shingle style Victorian with 2 gables, hence our gabled home, just in case you're wondering. And we do always have spider webs underneath our ceilings, and it feels like it's a constant chore to clean up the spider webs. And we have these little finions on our curtain rods. I have to take those off, and afterwards my husband said, why don't you just slide the curtains out both on one side? And I thought, yeah, well, that was a great idea that I should have thought of before. But okay, so next time I know that. I don't do this very often. I do this once a year. Like I said, spring cleaning, Frühjahrsputz, the German way, and sometimes these little finials don't really come out. Also, I am stepping on a chair. My chair is very sturdy and feels very safe. I just want to warn you, I know that a lot of household accidents happen when people step on something. So if you do this, if you feel inspired to wash your curtains and take them down, make sure that you're stepping up on something that is very safe and sturdy and stable, so that you don't end up in any household accident. Our four-legged companions are always ready to check out what's new. Oh, this are the curtains that I haven't smelled before, so let me sit on those and make it a little bit more challenging for Mom. But I'm going to have to evict this little guy in just a moment so I can wash the curtains. We don't have a pretty Instagram perfect laundry room. We have a shed on the outside of our kitchen, and it's perfectly functional and usable. It's just not very pretty. And that's where I have our washing machine and the dryer. As you've seen before, we don't use a dryer a whole lot, but we do have it because there are those occasions when you wash something and you need it dry pretty much right away, or in the winter when things just don't get dry quick enough, and that's why we use the dryer. Another downside of not having an orderly, pretty laundry room is that there's actually more or less dirt right here underneath and in front of the washer. When you pull things out, sometimes they fall down, and even putting down a basket and pulling things into the basket is not always really easy because there's a bit of a lip there, or a step because there's a concrete foundation. So we don't really have an ideal setup here, but I'm by no means complaining. I'm just telling you how it is and how the curtains got all sort of wrapped around each other. But I do like to hang them. These are linen curtains, and they actually get a little softer, but they do retain a little bit of their crinkled look after so many washings. And what I like to do is I like to dry them on the laundry line until they're almost entirely dry, and then give them a quick, maybe 5-minute spin in the dryer, because that will soften them up, and removing some of the wrinkles. A lot of it you can remove by shaking out and by stretching and pulling the linen fabric a little bit, and then, just touching up with 5 minutes in the dryer. Once they go back up, here again, I am on this chair. Please be careful if you do this too, because I know that there are so many household accidents that unfortunately happen. And now I'm going to try to get the curtains back up on there. They somehow seem to come off easier than they go back on, and sometimes you just got to figure things out as you go. I also love that these curtains let in a lot of light. They don't darken the room a whole lot, but in the dining room and living room area, we don't really need that so much. Plus we have some extra blinds that, I'm not sure if you can see that so much here in this frame, but we have them In the winter, we can use them for extra insulation, and in the summer as well too, because these are single pane windows that are original to this house, and we haven't really found a good justification to replace them, because those windows are over 100 years old and they are perfect. There is no shifting or warping or shrinking of the wood, and my husband and I, we have talked about it and we are okay with that. But with the curtains and the shades that we have, we can insulate and adjust the climate in our lower floor areas, the dining room and the living room. And the kitchen, we don't really have curtains. Once the clean curtains go back up, everything just looks so much more crisp and clean and just really friendly for the springtime. Another German tradition is beating the rugs. And if you think that sounds funny, it probably does sound funny in English as I'm saying it. I remember my grandmother would actually do this on a weekly basis, and she would enlist my mom's oldest brother, my uncle, and he would have to carry these rugs all the way downstairs into the common courtyard, where they had these metal, they were almost like a clothesline, but they were metal, and they were really for that purpose, to hang up your rugs. And then people had these rug beaters, and they would beat the rug. You can see it here again a little bit against the sun, how the dust is coming out of this. It's a small rug, so it's pretty manageable. And even though we vacuum this rug on a regular weekly basis, it just, all the dirt, I'm so amazed, and the dust that comes out. And even though we don't wear shoes in the house, we wear slippers, which is also a very German tradition. I am absolutely astonished how much dust and dirt there is still in the rug. So this is actually a pretty good practice. Unfortunately, in the olden days, around my grandmother's age, they also used the rug beaters for, how I'm going to say this, parenting, for beating their children, which was not so nice, but unfortunately that was done as well. And I hope that this is a thing of the past. Once the rug is clean and you have beaten it enough, I roll it up and bring it back inside. And I'm going to give this little edge here one more little beating. I know it sounds really funny, it sounds really violent, and it kind of is, but it really gets the job done, and it's very German in its tradition. And even though, as I said, we do vacuum on a regular basis, there's always so much dirt and dust, and this is a perfect opportunity to get up my little hand broom from a German company called Redeker. It's a pure horse hair, which is put on the ends, and it actually really sweeps up the dust very well. I'm going to leave a link for you, because many of you have asked in the past where I got that dustpan and the push broom from, and those are my favorite ones. They look pretty, but they're also highly functional, very high quality, and one of my favorite household items, cleaning items all together. Really functional, and I love to use them. Putting that little rug back in place, I don't know that it really comes out so much in the video, but just putting it back in place, I can see how much cleaner it looks. And it may sound funny, but I didn't think I would notice so much of a difference. And I'm putting it underneath this bench so it doesn't go anywhere and stays put in place. Once the home is clean, I like adding a touch of fresh flowers to bring in a little bit more of the spring season and a little bit more greenery and color.